Now, what's going on? The Naval Yard shooting where 12 people were injured today, and we know at least 4 confirmed deaths. We look at these live pictures now outside the Navy Yard where a senior U.S. Navy official is now confirming those 4 deaths, and at least 10 have been shot. At least 1 heavily armed gunman now has been cornered, and that shooter was reportedly on different floors in one of the buildings there on site. We had original reports that they've been able to corner him, and we're waiting on word exactly what that means. Now, at least 2 law enforcement officials are believed to be among the injured, one reportedly shot in both legs. The gunman was first reported inside the Naval Sea Systems Command headquarters at 8:20 a.m. Eastern. And that is on a busy Monday morning as most people are returning to work. This is a complex of buildings where some 3,000 people do go to work there, civilian and military combined. As you can see, emergency personnel, they have flooded what is still a very, very active scene. Now, we know the president has been briefed on this shooting. And the D.C. Department of Transportation, several area schools are on lockdown. 7 area schools, to be accurate, are on lockdown right now. Joining me on the phone is NBC's Casey Hunt. Casey has been on the scene. Casey, what's the latest you're seeing?
Good morning, Thomas. Well, it's still chaos here, and first responders are still coming in. We've got 2 helicopters that are circling the scene. We're standing on the corner of 3rd and M Street Southeast in Washington, which is just a few blocks up from the Navy Yard itself, which is at 6th and M Street. I actually just spoke with an eyewitness, or a woman who was in one of the buildings where the shooter was initially this morning. She described to us being in the cafeteria there around 8:20, and she said that she heard 3 quick pops and then 5 more, so a total of 7 or so shots. And she described the situation just of chaos. There was a female security guard who was telling her and others who were there just to get out of the building as fast as they could, and so she ran. And ever since then, we've had some people, I've talked to other eyewitnesses who have friends who are still sheltering in place inside the Navy Yard, while as others obviously have gotten out and are now still, many of them remain here on the streets. We have a steady rain here, sort of matching the mood of the day with this, tragic unfolding of events with 4 people confirmed dead. There are a litany of law enforcement agencies who are here from across the region, number of federal law enforcement agencies. I'm standing not too far away from a group of ATF agents and one man who's wearing a hat that says NCIS, so it's like a terrible TV show gone terribly wrong.
Casey, we're getting reports now from WRC that there is one of their reporters just getting off the phone with a law enforcement force who says that they heard gunfire inside the Navy Yard building recently, at least 1, possibly more shots fired. You have not heard anything like that, correct?
We're a little bit too far away, possibly, to hear something like that. We also have these choppers circling overhead, so we weren't able to hear that kind of activity. But the way that law enforcement is sort of postured here hasn't changed at all over the last couple of hours. So our understanding is that this still is active and that it's certainly possible that there have been shots fired recently.
Casey, as you talk about it still being active and most people heeding that shelter-in-place order, there has been some discussion about whether this is just a lone gunman or potentially multiple assailants. Have you heard anything on the scene about exactly, have they been able to define that is, if there's more than one gunman?
We've been trying to figure that out here on the scene, and it's frankly probably more chaotic where we are than where some of you are making phone calls to try to figure out what's going on inside. We did hear from an MPD spokeswoman who said that they were going to come out and provide us with more information. So far they haven't been able to do that other than to tell us that it is a very fluid and still active situation.
And as you say, still active situation, are you still seeing emergency and first responder vehicles flying by you, or have they cordoned off the area right now just so that no traffic is getting through?
Yeah, in fact, I'm being pushed back further than we were before. The emergency vehicles are still moving back and forth. I mean, the whole area is cordoned off, so no outside vehicles or outside pedestrian traffic even are able to come into this area. But there is space for first responders to move back and forth, so you are seeing occasionally police cars going up and down. We saw a Homeland Security vehicle come in. There are still numbers of fire trucks from all of the different engine houses across Washington who are also here. And then we have these 2 helicopters flying over top of the Navy Yard itself. We saw one of those helicopters earlier medevac one of the victims out of the Navy Yard. So we started the day with just one helicopter. There are now two of them. So this situation really shows no sign of abating at this point.
In case when we talk about the helicopters, they're just circling at this point, right? You said only one was a medevac helicopter that had landed and then taken off again?
Both of these helicopters appear to be from the Park Police. They've gotten low enough at different points that we've been able to read the logos on the side. The initial helicopter that did the medevac actually hovered, and we saw it drop a rope or some sort of device down into the Navy Yard and come back up again with something in it, and then that helicopter flew away over a parking lot where we were initially staged right across from the Navy Yard. Since then, you've seen that helicopter sort of dive low down over the Navy Yard. Clearly, it's hard to tell, or it's not possible to know at this point if they're looking for someone, if they were looking for victims, if they were trying to identify the location of the shooter. But they've clearly been hovering down very low to the point that they're involved in whatever is going on the ground. And then a second helicopter has come and is sort of higher up above the Navy Yard. So you have one that's been making low passes and another that's making wider circles.
Casey, we're going to let you get back to reporting. Our Casey Hunt there on the scene. Again, just if you're joining us, resetting here at the top of the hour. Since 8:20 this morning, almost 3 hours now, we've been covering this breaking news where we have now at least 10 shot at the Navy Yard. 4 have been confirmed dead, and there were earlier reports that the gunman had been cornered. We're waiting on more confirmation about exactly what that means, while some people discuss whether or not this is just one person working alone or whether multiple assailants were a part of this coordinated or this effort of an attack there at 8:20 a.m. this morning. Donna Ledger is with USA Today, a reporter and on the scene there. Donna, can you add to what Casey's reporting and what you're seeing?
Sure. I've talked to several people who were in the building at the time of the shooting, and they've given sort of varying reports, but and I apologize for the sirens in the background. There's an incredibly heavy police presence. But they've given varying reports about how much they heard. One man that I interviewed said he heard 7 shots. He was in the atrium of the building, which is on the first floor. 7 shots, and then sirens, and then a recorded message to evacuate. So he did not go back to his desk. He grabbed a blind colleague and helped the blind colleague out of the building and escorted him down to the metro. He said it was incredibly hectic, people, leaving behind their personal possessions and just getting out of there as soon as possible.